Gee, Steve, what are we going to do tonight?
Same thing we do every podcast. Tell him how we sees it.
As soon as you graduate, this job will be waiting for you, Chris.
Great.
We have a complete physical plant right over here.
You have a jacuzzi?
Absolutely.
Good.
And the labs and offices are right over this way. Follow me, please. Guys, I want you to meet Chris Knight. Chris, this is my assistant, Sherry Nugel.
Is me?
And this is Mike Dodd,
Dr. Dodd.
the one who just designed our brand new telecom satellite.
It's an honor to meet you, sir. Telcom. Isn't that the satellite that's raining debris all over Europe?
Why is that toy on your head?
Because if I wear it anywhere else, it chafes. I'm sorry. It's just that I didn't want you guys to think I was stuffy, you know. No fun. All brain, no penis.
Pardon me?
I'm sorry. It's just an infantile response to authority.
Yes, you are Chris Knight, aren't you?
I hope so. I'm wearing his underwear.
It's a joke. I get it. That's funny.
Well, I just can't help it. You guys are such fun yourselves.
Well, we try to be. Isn't that right, Mike?
No.
Chris, Sherry's going to show you around the place. You can ask her any questions you might have about fringe benefits, dress codes, or whatever, and I'll see you back upstairs in my office when you're through, okay?
Great.
Sherry, take very good care of this young man. He's one of the 10 finest minds in the country.
Someday I hope to be 2 of them. You are very beautiful.
Thank you.
How'd I come off? Too stuffy?
Well, you certainly don't act like one of the top 10 minds of America.
Really? How many of them have you met?
7.
Really?
You'll be 8. Professor Hostetler at MIT was number 6.
Old Professor Hostetler? Isn't he dead?
He is now.
Here we go. It's How We Sees It, episode 293. We're coming to you from the year 1985. Technically August, but we're doing it in July, so close to 40 years ago. We're staying with a Val Kilmer theme, and we're going with Real Genius. I believe this is his second movie overall, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, it's his second, I guess, hit. I think he's been in like little things, but it was Top Secret right before this, right? That actually
Top Secret was
put
the
him
first
on the
movie.
map. Put him on the map, and yeah.
I thought Top Secret was his first. Oh, I guess. Yeah, he had something called Riptide, which I don't know was, and then there was an after-school special where he played Eric. I don't know how well that went over, but that was the only things between Top Secret and Real Genius, and then Top Gun. I mean, this guy came out of the gate just swinging for homers,
right,
and making contact with them. So, yeah, really cool. So yeah, this is one we were talking about when I can't remember. We started talking about Val Kilmer.
Well, this was actually on our list of possible throwbacks, you know, and so that's what. And we said, oh, we gotta expand on it. So this was actually the first movie that we were talking about, and you said, let's cover The Doors, let's cover Tombstone. But this was the one.
We talked about Val Kilmer before that, and that was something I thought he came up in something else.
Okay, well, I mean, we've certainly talked a lot about him with Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah, Top Gun, exactly.
And he comes, and Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Just Kiss Bang Bang was another one.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, this was just really cool. You know, it was kind of funny. I was looking at this. He kind of reminded me of like a early version of Ryan Reynolds in his Van Wilder movies.
Right.
This was kind of like the grandfather to Van Wilder. Probably a little smarter than Van Wilder. But
I'm sure even at the time they were trying to capture that Animal House vibe with this movie.
I did hear some people talk about that it was like Animal House with nerds, and I was like, I didn't get that feel, but I get it. I get it.
Oh, I agree with you that, or I agree with that statement that, you know, don't quite get that vibe, but I think there's other reasons for that. I think when it was originally conceived, they were going after like a Revenge of the Nerds or Animal House style. But things changed a little bit, probably because of the director and some of her success with Valley Girl, a previous movie she did, and how that was received, and kind of put her spin on this.
Yeah, I got some more information on that.
Cool.
And we'll get to all of that when we finish talking about our cocktails, because that's what we do here on How We Seeez It. We created an original cocktail that we pair with the movie, and it's no different this time. I really hope you came with the Magic Steve, because I struggled with this one, and I'll explain why I struggled with it after you tell us what wonderful drink you have for it.
All right, I'm kind of excited about this one, although it's a little. I don't know how it's going to taste. We'll see. But I call this the Laszlo Holyfeld, named after the dude in the closet who entered a Frito-Lay contest, and by filling out 1,650,000 entry forms, and then he ends up in the end, winning 31% of the prizes, including a Winnebago, along with Sherry, the woman that's trying to sleep with all the top 10 minds in the country. So
right.
So that's what I used for my I leaned into a cocktail that was corn heavy, because we're talking Frito-Lay. So I started with I did the math, 1,650,000 micro ounces of bourbon. That's what we start with there. So that's apparently what 1.65 ounces equates to. And that's, of course, how many entries he entered into it. And it's bourbon because it's corn-based, and bourbon is 51% at least corn.
Tell me you made it 31% of your drink.
Well, I don't know. You could do the math. I did not go there. Come on. Anyway, then added to that 3/4 ounces of sherry. I figure sherry is the prize that he gets to marry at the end when he wins all this money.
Nice.
And well, it's not money. I guess it's Winnebagos and appliances and things like that. Then I made a toasted Frito corn syrup I got a bag of Fritos. I crunched it up and I blended it. I toasted the Fritos a little bit, and then I made up a simple syrup with that. So it became a legitimate corn syrup, but again leading into the Frito theme. So 1/2 ounce of toasted corn syrup. Then I put 2 dashes of chocolate bitters just to kind of add a little depth to it, and I figured he's underground, so that goes a little deep. Maybe I'm stretching there. I'm leaning into that a little too much. 1/8 of an ounce of lemon juice to give it a little bit of brightness, and a pinch of salt to kind of bring it all together. And I put a little bit of Frito crumbs along the rim. Oh, and this is just a touch that has nothing to do with Laszlo, but it has one of my favorite moments is when when we're early on introduced to Val Kilmer's character. He's got a cylindrical ice cube that he's cutting into quarters for his vending machine. And so I did my best to make a cylindrical ice cube. And I thought I did a pretty good job. I'm showing a picture to Noah through. It looks like I'm holding a penis, but the only problem.
I was going to say that, but
the only problem is it was sticking up into my nose when I was taking the first sip, so I had to pull it out of my drink.
Penis.
So yes, exactly. So I had to pull it out for this actual taste. But anyway, it's a Frito-Lay heavy Laszlo Holyfield cocktail, and cheers.
Nice. Yeah, that's Laszlo.
Oh, that's good, man. And it does. I get a little Frito taste to it, but it actually feels like a legitimate cocktail too. It's not. It's just a snacky cocktail. All right.
I think I figured out how we ended up on Val Kilmer, because we were talking about White Lotus.
Oh sure. Oh okay. Because of Laszlo.
Yep, and you were like, oh yeah, I remember him as Laszlo, and we were like, oh, and Uncle Rico and Napoleon Dynamite, right. And all. And so I think that's how we ended up on that, because Real Genius came up and like, oh, that's such a good movie, and nerded out on that. So I think that's how we got there. I'm
fair enough. Works for me.
All right, so I was going. This was a quick watch and get back to it. We just recorded 2 days ago. We did the Bear season 4, and I try not to watch movies in between. Before I pot, so I'm not concentrating on something else while we're doing it. So we basically had 2 days, and I watched this. Luckily, my cool uncle got me a way to watch this on my phone at work. So I was watching this
When did
movie.
you do that? Yesterday?
Uh-huh.
Okay. I got a follow up to that, to the cool uncle thing, but go ahead.
So I was watching it, and I remember I saw this as a kid or teenager. Perfect time to see it too, really. 1985, 86, when I was a freshman in high school, or becoming a freshman in high school. I remember watching this and just thinking it was so cool, and it made, it falls on the lines of Revenge of the Nerds, but this was kind of like making smart people seem cool, where Revenge of the Nerds was kind of like, oh, they're smart, but they're not really cool. They're cool adjacent maybe, but they, it didn't really win nerds a bunch of praise in my mind. But this one kind of like,
this one seems, this one actually seems smarter. And I think
yes.
it felt a little bit more intelligent, which gave them more credence to their coolness.
Exactly. And that's kind of, a lot of people were calling these, nerds throughout. I listened to a couple podcasts today, and they were calling them nerds. I'm like, they're not really nerds in this. Just because you're smart does not make you a nerd. Right. These guys are, geniuses or child prodigies. And so as I was going through all that, that gave me the idea for my drink. I was like, I'm going to make a drink called a child prodigy. So I started to going through my bar going, what would I put in this if I was a child prodigy? And I could just think of a little 15-year-old me behind that bar going, what would I do? And I saw my blackberry Crown Royal. I'm like, oh, yeah, I would go with that because blackberries, that's got to taste good, right? So I start with 2 ounces of blackberry Crown Royal. And then right next to that happened to be my pineapple Jim Beam. And I'm like, oh, that's a really good one, too. Pineapples, those are delicious. So I threw in 1.5 ounces of pineapple Jim Beam. And then I was like, as a genius or a child prodigy, I would think, I gotta get fancy and I gotta mix something into this. So I was looking around for something that just looked cool, and I thought about textures and stuff like that, and I saw the Velvet Flirtum, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go with that. It also has a citrusy kind of flavor, so it fit right in with the flavors, but it gives it a little bit of a smooth texture, and that's thinking above the child prodigy idea that like maybe he is a child prodigy or mixologist at heart, giving a little mix to it. Then I also grabbed a fresh squeezed lemon right off our tree here, dropped 1 ounce of that in it, shook it up, because why not? They would see that on maybe Cocktail was out not too long before or after this, and he was always shaking the drinks in there, so maybe he would grab that to think he was cool. Shook it up with some ice, poured it in there, and then I thought, what's the perfect drink for me to top this off with? And going back to right before going into high school, I was drinking a lot of squirt soda, and I happen to have a squirt soda, and I'm like, that'll go right on top of those flavors. So I topped it with squirt. And so that is my child prodigy. Haven't tasted it yet, so let's see if it works. Oh, that's actually really good.
Yeah, you got a lot of squirt in there, so.
No, that's the thing. It's only about 3 ounces of squirt.
Okay.
I poured this in a Collins glass. There was a lot of the alcohol. And before I even poured the squirt in, I was like, well, I wonder if I should just leave it alone. And I'm like, oh, it's just a little bit of squirt. Because I didn't want to dilute it too much. I wanted to keep the nice cocktail flavor and feel to it. The Velvet Flirtum, perfect add to this. I think it sets it off because it gives it a little bit of a velvety, smooth kind of a texture to it where I don't know if the others would have. And the flavors all really meld really well together. It's kind of like almost like a flavored lemonade, right? It's got a little bit of a blackberry, a little bit of a pineapple kick. None of them are overtaken, but it's kind of like a smooth lemonade, essentially.
I was thinking of mine. You mentioned smooth lemonade. Mine is almost like a savory orange juice. And I think it's just because the orange is just, it's like a Frito adjacent for some reason. And so there's something about it. It's like a savory orange is a Frito taste.
I mean,
but anyway.
You always see cornfields right next to orange orchards.
Oh,
it's
and
they go hand in hand.
Yeah. They're having their midnight trysts and getting themselves a little intertwined.
But yeah, so that was I struggled with that all day I'm like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I couldn't dial anything. It literally came down to about a half hour ago. I'm like, okay, figured out the name. Oh, now let's see what I can do with it. So
I'm trying to do my best of having my cocktail at least conceived and almost there the night before, because otherwise my brain is just too scattered on a work day to where
I get it.
I feel a little stressed out, and so it's like I'm not going to bed until at least I've got enough dialed in to where I'm not unable to sleep.
I usually do that the day before, but I usually have a couple more days. And for me, work has been just ridiculous. I was off for a whole week, and so everything piled up, and now where everything was coming up Millhouse last week for me, nothing's coming up Millhouse for me this week. Everything is just 2 steps, back for every step forward. And
right.
It's like, God damn. So
this is our perfect storm as far as we have 2 new people on our team. My boss, who is the director of IT, is retiring next week. The newly hired director of IT started today. So I would suggest that we have some issues in IT. I don't want to go into those because, this is a podcast and we do go out to some of the listeners work there and who knows.
That's what I was going to say. Did you hand them a sticker? Go, hi, I'm Steve. I'm a co-host of this podcast and I will be your IT expert today.
That's right. That's right. What was it? What'd you call it? The cool uncle? Cool uncle?
Cool uncle.
Cool uncle. So, you say you watched it yesterday afternoon on your phone with the Cool Uncle app. I was watching it last night, and about halfway through, the server died, and it's been down ever since. And the Cool Uncle is in Chicago right now, so there's no support handy. So I had to do a quick $3 rental on Amazon so I could finish the movie last night. Like,
I'll send you $1.50. I'll take half of it.
Okay.
No, it froze on me a couple times, and I wasn't sure if it was my phone or if something else was going. So maybe that's what it was. I also thought, I was like, I wonder if Steve's also trying to watch this right now.
Wasn't until last night.
Okay.
So no. But again, this isn't there's no support attached to Cool Uncle app.
Cool Uncle has no support. Nice. All right, well, let's get into this movie. This is in the 80s, there was a lot of kind of this teen party mixture of things going on. I mean, we got this. I think this was also released the same year as, or around the same time as Weird Science.
Okay, sure. Yeah, Weird Science was, because this was Breakfast Club, and Weird Science came out after Breakfast Club. I'm just saying Breakfast Club was 85. Weird Science was probably 86 or 87.
I thought
this is the year after Revenge of the Nerds, which was 84.
Yeah.
But you're right. There were a lot of kind of what you might call these teen exploitation films that were just kind of teeny bopper films, but there was some exploitation involved. And so you kind of, there was a certain formula to a lot of the teen movies. And, we've done a lot of coverage of Breakfast Club and, those movies, which were definitely diamonds in the rough.
John Hughes movies.
Those were something out that kind of took those potential themes and really brought a lot more groundedness to them.
So
go ahead.
Technically, I think this was released the same week
as what?
As
Breakfast Club?
Weird Science.
As Weird Science? No.
Yeah, August 4th, 1985.
Weird Science.
Opening weekend.
When did Breakfast Club come out?
It might have been 84.
I thought that was 85. It was 85. Huh.
Maybe it was early 85.
February 85. Wow. But But
so they were right on top of each other.
But Anthony Michael Hall gains.
I mean, that dude was working his ass off.
No, I know, but he's like 6 inches taller. What do they say? What do they say about Mitch? What does Laszlo say about Mitch? And you're right. They both came out in '85. Laszlo says Mitch is going to grow 6 or 7 inches in the next.
Oh, you're right. Yeah,
in the next 6 months or something. So that's exactly what happened to Anthony Michael Hall, I guess, or maybe they shot him further apart than they were released. But you're right. Exactly, August 2nd. So this movie,
these literally
Real Genius came out after. Yeah, they're a week apart.
Yeah, crazy. But I mean, and they have a very similar vibe in the science aspect of things, the teen angst a little bit. This kind of, like I said, I talked earlier about the Ryan Reynolds role, the Van Wilder, the National Lampoon stuff. You know, the cool nerd at school,
yeah, sure,
the coolest guy in school. Now this is a tech school, right? I think it's called Pacific Tech, and it's based off of Caltech. And which I thought was really interesting. They actually took a lot of information from alumni from Caltech and stuff like that, and put that in there. They really wanted to make sure the scienced up. The director, Martha Coolidge, spent a lot of time studying lasers, even to get this all right,
and had a hand at the script, kind of written in some of the rewrites. Yeah,
and they got a lot of people. I mean, there's even professors from the school that make cameos in this, from Caltech and stuff like that. And they got actual pranks that were done by Caltech students and things like that. There's a couple different things. The Laszlo story is based off a true story that happened in the late 70s, where 3 guys entered in. Wasn't Frito-Lay, it was someone else, but they won a Winnebago and like $1,500 in food certificates, and so
they did the math, and they were they calculated it and entered based on loopholes in the rules.
Yeah, and in the 70s, a Winnebago was the shit,
right? We'll get you a wife.
Exactly. And so the original script for this too was a lot more teen raunchy, kind of like the Porkies, the things that were coming out like that.
Porkies, yeah. Oh my God.
And Martha Coolidge got a hold of it and said no, though, and so it had multiple rewrites until they got to the point where they have a lot of the humor still, right? I think one of the writers is part of like the Naked Gun series, and a lot of the Leslie Nielsen kind of movies and stuff, and you can kind of feel that a little bit of Airplane in that with just some of the lines, just the one-liners.
A lot of Chris Knight stuff is very one-liner, kind of leaning into the irony. But he does kind of come across a little raunchy at times, like when he's hitting on the guy's daughter that ends up screwing around with his professor, right in front. Hey, what can I do for you, or to you, or something to that effect?
Yeah, or more better yet, to you. Well, I mean, she has the great comeback though.
Oh, I know. Yeah,
and you drive a nail through a 6-inch nail through a board with your penis. Girls got to have standards.
And that's probably a good example of, his line was probably written by the early teen raunchy, humorist, whereas Martha Coolidge probably came in and gave the girl the comeback, just to kind of give it some more balance and not lean into some of the stereotypes we're used to in these raunchy comedies.
Right. Yeah. He is very well. There were people were saying like, oh, he's a little too suave to be this, and this is putting on a 2025 lens on it too, though.
Sure.
They're like, oh, he getting away with the lines. He's getting away with I'm like, that's calm to a lot of the shit that was going on in the 80s. And so,
yeah,
but it is also, a little forward. Like most guys aren't like that, I don't think.
No, yeah, exactly. Just how he picks up the girl in the bikini and after meeting her and runs off with her.
I love that line though. That was don't eat that. That'll give you huge boobs. I'm too late. I actually like that. I was. I kind of want to pull that one on my wife at some point.
Maybe me too. I gotta say though, Val Kilmer's dramatic moments I thought really grounded this character in such valuable ways. He doesn't have many, but there's a few moments where you see the human in him, and that's where Val Kilmer can really deliver a more nuanced performance. He's not just the comic relief. He comes across as someone who is real. There's a real character there. He's putting on a lot of this as a front, and you feel a little bit more in touch with the character. He's not just this ultra hot with all the one-liners that make all the women swoon, and got all the incredibly intelligent to boot. You know, he has something more beyond there that makes him more complex and deep.
So one of the things I didn't even realize until I really spent some more time thinking about it too was
But I heard some whistling. What was it?
Yeah, there's a weird whistling.
Maybe you've got. I see. Is that smoke? Or is that?
Hold on. Pause it real quick. Something's going off. Okay. I got to go figure out what it is. I'll be right back.
All right. Thank you for that break, Noah. It allowed me to go fix another cocktail. What was your emergency?
There was a crazy beeping across the way. For those that don't know, I actually live in two separate buildings at this point. In the other building, our fire alarm was going off for no reason. My wife was running a sink. I don't know, maybe it was steam or something, but it was just beeping, and it sounded like someone was standing back there whistling.
Yeah.
I was like, what the hell? Nothing dangerous though. So yeah, we were talking about how this was so 80s and the different, Playboy feel from Val Kilmer's character, from Chris Knight. I did bring up Deborah Foreman was the one that played the one with the great comeback. She plays Susan Decker, the daughter of he's a general or the army guy. Smoking hot.
She was in Martha Coolidge's previous film, Valley Girl, as the lead, opposite Nick Cage. In fact, they actually dated during the production of that movie. I got sidetracked with Valley Girl. It's interesting because Valley Girl, when I went to film school in '89. I was doing a lot of home movies with friends and stuff, and that was the direction I wanted to go in. But my parents were cool enough to send me to a summer camp in Chicago, Northwestern University, and just outside of Chicago, for 5-6 weeks and between my junior and senior year of high school. And so that would have been 87, I think. 87, because I turned... No, maybe 88. I think 87 because I turned 17 while I was there. And one of the movies we studied, because a lot of the different professors, we had about 4 or 5 different professors that discussed, and they had the opportunity every week. One of those professors would share a movie with the class. There was a class of about 40 of us that were all going to this summer camp making movies, and a movie a week. And one of the weeks was Valley Girl, which just seems really kind of out of place because, it's a teen raunchy teen romp, but it wasn't. I mean, I think that was the point, is that this was kind of flipping the script, and I think that's something Martha Coolidge tried to bring a little bit more. It was rare too because she was one of the few. In fact, there are still very few female directors in Hollywood, and so it was worth kind of checking out that person's point of view. And I'm sure in the early days you had to be careful. You didn't want to completely rock the boat, but
right.
But she brought a lot of, I think there was still, like in Valley Girl, if you see it, there's a boob shot because that was required. The producer said, you got to get a boob shot. You got to do this or that. There are certain things you have to do, but she was still able to make a movie that was enough hers. And probably the same thing happened with this, but there was no boob shot. Sorry, Noah.
No, yeah. There was kind of the whole, when they have the tanning invitational party.
Exactly. When they go off to party because the laser kind of points the direction.
I mean, that's kind of like what you would expect in the 1980s, movies kind of montages. It's they kept a little bit cleaner.
Right. You probably would have seen someone lose their top for just like a flash scene. You do the gratuitous airplane, where the boobs jump in front and bounce, and just something silly like that, but enough to kind of check that box because that was very typical in the 80s. Yeah.
I mean, she's gone on to direct a lot of TV stuff.
Martha Coolidge.
Martha Coolidge.
Yeah.
Lot of TV stuff, and a handful of movies.
Yeah. So these were some of her notable ones. I don't know if there's any.
I mean, so she was still working as of like 6 years ago. So 2019, she was still directing and stuff. So that's awesome that she was able to keep going with it. Like she didn't do anything bad enough, and she didn't do anything great enough to really overtake anything, but she really just kind of kept working. And so I like that. And, it's funny. The other strong female character in this, which you don't necessarily get a lot in the 80s, was Jordan. Right. And she was kind of the female genius at, she's the one that did the sled in the ice, down and
she shows up to the invitation, what
right with the scuba gear.
Yeah, with scuba gear. We want to test this, and she's always talking like she's drank 10 cups of coffee, and she's she's not necessarily a nerd, but she certainly is awkwardly eccentric. She runs into the bathroom. Are you peeing?
That's such a funny scene to me.
And it's just kind of someone who does not define themselves based on social norms. They define themselves just based off kind of their reality and how they're living it, which is refreshing.
Yeah, I love. I mean, just some of her lines and the way she spoke. She was just super fast with everything. When and she becomes the female love interest for Mitch.
Yeah.
Which and it's funny. I didn't even remember this was from this here, but I've said this. And I've thought about this many times. And she's, "Are you going to take me home to meet your parents?" And he's like, "No." He's like, "Are you ashamed of me?" He's like, "No, them."
Yeah.
And it's just, and I was like, oh, I always think of that. It always reminds me of that and stuff like that. So I think when this came out, she was one of those ones that was like, oh man, if I ever ran into a girl like that, I'd be smitten. I totally would. Like a smart,
I agree with you. At the same time, that did not fit the profile of kind of the Hollywood love interest.
No, I know.
And definitely, it kind of gave permission to be smitten with someone like that. Because you see a person like that and you got, my God, they're crazy. And the bully in you, or the one that you see at school, is obviously going to be making fun of someone like that. And so that kind of, I remember seeing the movie. I saw it in 85. I don't know if I saw it in the theater. I might have seen it on, whatever pay channel that I had.
Right. Probably HBO was running this.
Because I saw it a lot. I remember watching this movie a lot and just being really kind of taken by its intelligence and the characters that just didn't fit this standard profile. Chris Knight did, I thought, but again, he added emotional depth that I wasn't expecting. But even the lead,
he did,
Mitch,
but he didn't.
Well, okay. He had his moments. He had his moments that elevated.
He would have been a jock in any other movie, right? The cool guy is always the jock, or the ladies' man, and he had all of that, but he was also super smart and, like you said, very caring. And,
I think you're right on with Van Wilder and talking about Ryan Reynolds. That's But Ryan Reynolds in that movie didn't have those emotional moments, or at least I don't remember.
Well, that movie, that movie was not for that kind of. It's not about emotional. It's about it's very more on the raunchy side, and how can we.
Well, even Animal House, which is a classic. I struggle to think about what, if there were any real true dramatic moments. Dramatical? Is that a word? Dramatical.
It is today.
Okay. Any dramatic moments that really weren't all there for humor. Whereas I think in Real Genius, even though it leans into the comedy, you certainly get moments of real drama that fit effectively in the movie.
Yeah. I was trying to find her quote. There was a quote that she had about her being explaining herself and how she never sleeps and she drove her roommate crazy and neurodivergent and all this. And I was like, and the speed that she talks, you're like, holy caffeinated. But yeah, she was a very fun character having this. Like it went against the norms to a point where you're like, oh yeah, I love it. And so much so that like we get the scene where we get the total cougar, right?
Sherry,
yeah,
Nugel,
yeah, who was basically trying to collect all the smart guys, for her trophy case, and she comes in, which this is where 2025 lens were like, oh, this cougar's coming after this 15-year-old.
Oh, I know.
And it's been waiting for 3 years. And you're like, whoa. He might have been 16 by then, though.
He might have been, and
that's 15.
And that might have been considered legal at the time. I'm not sure.
Depending on what state they're actually in, I think. So, but it's still kind of like, ooh, that's kind of creepy.
Well, she does say, I've been waiting until you're ready or something like that. It's almost like,
I think she said, I've been waiting. Well, I think it is. He turned 16.
Okay.
It's got to be. But then the other part of that is people were like, oh, but then Jordan, who's supposed to be 19, is now dating a 15, 16-year-old. And you're like, yeah, that's really not that bad. I don't know why people had a problem. The people were bringing that. I'm like, what? Really? That's your issue? The cougar for me was like, I was like, whoa, okay. Now, the guy in me was like, man, if I showed up to college and that was the first thing that was introduced to me, I'd be like, spot on, I'm ready for college.
And this might have been the give and take that Martha brought. I mean, she's dealing with the script that kind of is still trying to exploit relationships and play with those. And it's not like she can rewrite and pull all that stuff out. Maybe that was something she was tempted to do just because it doesn't fit into her, woke ideology. And that was
pre-woke. It would be pre-woke.
But it was a balance that she was able to bring something more to it, and I think that was a better way to navigate being a woman in the 80s directing movies. Is that you can't just go in and take all these things away. What you can do is you can deal with those, but then you add something that adds some depth.
You learn in the sandbox with everybody else and not make too many waves. You make it your own without disrupting the system so much.
This movie did have two sequences that I just rolled my eyes at that felt very 80s, and those are those montage sequences where they basically take these clips that like these throwaway scenes that they've decided to throw onto the cutting room floor, and they get a pop song that they're trying to promote, and they put them together, and there's one like at the end of Act 1 and one at the beginning of Act 3, and the one at the beginning of Act 3 is a little better because that's when Chris Knight is finally like leaning into trying to make things work because he's been threatened. But the one before where it's just more about relationships, it's almost comes across as really awkward because they almost like, it's like you're hearing the music and you're seeing scenes play out and dialogue happening, but you're not hearing the dialogue. It's just, it feels like they just assembled them with clips that they just decided to throw away. And I don't know why. Maybe there was like, we have to establish that time has passed and these characters are getting to know each other. How do we do that? A stupid montage with a pop song. Okay, cross your fingers that the song's gonna be popular. Anyway, okay, that's off my chest. And you see those still in movies today, but not like not like you did back then.
Well, that's that's kind of, if you can put together a good montage, that's the thing. There's a great movie. It's a very fun and silly movie. That has it makes fun of the montage. Oh God, I can't. My blanking on the name. Christine Applegate. It's the one I want my wife to do for our spouse episode all the time.
Is this the one where their braces when she's given the blowjob?
Yep.
and exactly. The braces get caught on the.
Yep. It is. What is it called?
You'll find it, or I could look it up real quick while you're talking about it.
Yeah. Anyways, they make fun of the whole montage thing. With it's like
the sweetest thing. Yeah.
Sweetest thing. There it is. Such a funny movie. And so another kind of crass and, but it's a girl version of it.
Dumb and Dumber does a great montage sequence when they're getting there, when they've finally gotten the suitcase open and the money, and they start spending the money. And it's this big kind of montage sequence of all these things happening. They're sanding down their toenails and they're getting their colorful suits and all these things. But they it almost feels like it's making fun of the montage sequence because it's all happening, playing against the backdrop of some pop song that everyone knows.
Well, that's what The Sweetest Thing does. Is like, oh, you know what we need here is an 80s montage, and it's done to, I want to say it's done to a Madonna song because they're trying on dresses and stuff like that, but they're doing all it's spot on, but nice. it's done in a kind of like a tongue-in-cheek way.
It seems like something that Deadpool probably did at some point. They probably did a montage sequence with him, with some of his characters.
I wouldn't be surprised. It wouldn't surprise me in the least bit.
This movie did not do it well, though. I rolled. At least
it didn't bother me. No. It really didn't. There wasn't a lot that bothered me, really. I mean, there were some parts that got a little slower. I
found it interesting watching this because it's been like 20 years since I've seen this. Maybe that's pushing it. Cindy reminded me that Casey watched this a lot when she was younger.
Okay.
So it's possible that I'd seen it more recently than 20 years. But it's been a while, and I got to kind of look at it through the lens. And it was a little slower than I expected. Some of the jokes kind of made my eyes roll a little bit. But I also discovered a few new things, like the opening title sequence. I thought was really cool because it shows all, while they're running the titles, you see in the background all these weapons plans, for all these different, the tanks and the cannons and bullets and all these things and patents. And it's all this stuff that has been kind of how breakthroughs have been used for evil, and it's kind of,
whoa, it's not all evil.
No, I guess, okay, you're right. Evil's the wrong word, but for the science, what's the movie with that was big opposite Oppenheimer? Sorry, I was going to say Barbie. Oppenheimer talks about the new, the atomic bomb and how science was. That was a big question. Was it exploited to create some death machine? And so when I say evil, I think I was just meaning an agent of death. When you see a tank or you see a bullet, you see a gun. And this movie plays a little bit with that because certainly it's science when it comes to this laser, this 5 megawatt? No. Gigawatt.
6.5 megawatts.
I think they were trying to get 5, and they ended up getting more.
You got 6.5
and
megawatts
as a weapon from space. So here's something that I got to just add because it makes me feel cool. My dad, in the 80s, he worked on the Star Wars program, and he worked on lasers. He was at Hughes Aircraft. I remember going to his lab, seeing his lasers hooked up. It might have been a little earlier than 85. It probably was because he also worked for Aerojet. But he was working on the Star Wars program, which was defense. It was more about shooting down missiles but using lasers for and tracking and all that sort of stuff. So a lot of this stuff resonated from my memories of that sort of stuff, and I think even watching this with my dad too.
It's funny when you talk about that. I don't know if I've ever said it on the podcast, but I actually work partially with the space defense now.
There you go.
I work on the space defense missile, the SM-3, which is designed to basically intercept incoming missiles. So it is.
You build them, right? I mean, you're part of the.
We put the smart bomb is kind of what when I try and dumb it down for people.
Well said. What do you try to dumb it down?
Well, I mean, I can't tell everybody exactly everything I do. So the easy way to say it is if we put the smart bomb, and most of it's for defense purposes. Most of it,
sure.
But yeah, science is science. It's like, we got the line from Laszlo. He's like, did you ever think of what this is going to be used for? And it's like, well, if we went and looked at every single thing that possibly could be used. I mean, everything that's out there can be used for nefarious reasons, you know. And sometimes things are designed for nefarious reasons and turn out to have good you know.
I think it's a fair conversation to have. I think
it is.
I think people, when they say it's not the gun that shoots someone, it's the person, that's valid, but that shouldn't be the end of the conversation. So
True.
So I guess that's what I'm saying, is that I think it's a fair point when people say stuff like that, but it's also worth. It doesn't mean the conversation should end there. And
we had conversations about a lot of stuff way too early on a lot of different things. But I agree with you.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that I agree with you. It has that idea. And it's also 85, you know, into the Cold War.
Right.
Still, you know,
Reagan's still in office. So we're
the coordinates they give, you know, for the first launch or whatever, is actually a Russian-controlled area of Antarctica.
Holy shit! You mean they actually used legitimate coordinates for?
Yes, exactly. And so you're like, oh, son of a bitch, that's crazy. You know, and
I was kind of geeking out when they were doing. You know, this is 85, so the computer technology I'm looking at, they're still talking about, you know, read-only memory, or, you know, the EEPROM, they're replacing the PROM with the EEPROM. That's all legitimate stuff. That's erasable, programmable, read-only memory that you're putting on board with all these new instructions, and it's kind of cool.
I literally was dealing with that today in programming chips, and they're not working, so I have to go replace them on flexes. So yes, I know all about that shit, and it's to look back at the technology, right?
Which is a nod. If Martha Coolidge was researching lasers and she added some of that stuff, kudos, because that kind of lends some legitimacy to what you're watching. I think all that research, maybe it's not all right. I mean, I think they actually did talk to laser scientists. They were trying to come up with something that like made sense. The whole Frozen thing, when he talks about going
from solid to gas.
Yeah, the bromide thing. That was something that was considered through a scientific lens. So there's actually some legitimacy to that.
I understand is Caltech actually has a yearly thing where they do put frozen water in their dormitories, specifically on a circular staircase, and do bobsled runs on it. So that shit is legit. I mean, this is brought. It's maybe the science that they explained isn't exactly right, but it is brought from these people that lived something similar. And I was like, that's cool.
And the movie is able to tap into that in an effective way. It doesn't feel like it's just, you know, Revenge of the Nerds. Oh, let's press a button and you know, we have this pops. You know, some of the stuff they did in there, it's not necessarily that intellectual. Here you feel like they're leaning to something that sounds like it's legit, you know. Yeah. Close or legit adjacent, which is fair enough, you know.
I like that. Legit adjacent. I'm going to use that for a lot of stuff from now on. That's, okay. I want that on a shirt now. I'm legit adjacent.
Close enough.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what it is. Close enough. Oh, hold on a second.
You got a cramp?
On my leg.
Oh, shit.
I do. I've been having issues with my legs lately, and my leg is cramped up.
Just stand up. If you stand up on a cramp.
I'm trying.
Okay. Oh shit. Yep, that's what it is. We're recording. Our listeners are experiencing this with you. I'm about to pause though, because this is going on for a while. Pause. All right.
I got it. I'll be right. I had some stuff.
All right, we're back. So.
All right, yeah, that was crazy. I hope no one other than my worst enemy ever gets a hamstring calf cramp, because that was horrible. I don't even know what the hell happened. It locked up on me and said, "No, fuck you."
This podcast, that's two like potential emergencies that we've.
I know, huh? Yeah, both on my side. What the hell's going on today? Anyways, this had a character, an actor, that as soon as you see him, you're like, oh, that motherfucker. And that is William Atherton.
Oh.
As what is his name? I'm blanking on his name real quick.
Hathaway.
I had him.
Yeah,
Hathaway.
Professor Jerry.
Yeah, Jerry. That's it. Gerald. It was what I think. It was,
I know, but I think it's Kent that calls
Jerome.
him Jerry.
It was
You're not
Jerome.
allowed. You don't call me Jerry.
Yeah. But as soon as I saw it, I was like, "Oh, this motherfucker!" And it's because
Die Hard. Okay. I mean,
yeah, Die Hard.
Die Hard.
Is
Ghostbusters is the other one.
Ghostbusters were the other two, where he's just a dick.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my God, he's just now Professor Dick. You're like looking at him, and it's like, God, that guy never changes.
I love his introduction because he's introduced first. I think, am I right? At the event the science fair, and it's his interaction with the parents. And at first it all seems like
adopted.
It just sounds like they're just like trying to figure. They're so excited that he's going to college. Does he get a full ride or something like that? No, or something. There's a little back and forth, and then suddenly there's this back and forth between the parents and him, and it's all this kind of passive aggressive undercutting.
Oh, it is.
And it's hilarious. It's like, oh my God, was that?
Just ad-lib shit?
I think when I was 15, I didn't understand that. It's like was that an insult? I didn't quite get what was going on. This whole passive aggressive thing. But it's so funny, and he has those expressions.
For sure.
That are just he just looks down at everyone, all the workers. You're a worker. You're supposed to work.
Yeah.
Or so. Why aren't you laboring? You're a laborer. Why aren't you? Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, he hits all the. I mean, it starts with Walter Peck from Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
It should have just it should have just been Walter Pecker.
This man has no dick, right? Isn't that what?
Exactly? It's true. This man has no dick.
Something like that. Yeah.
It is. It's a double line. It's like, this man has no dick, and he's is that true? Yes, this man has no dick.
And then in Die Hard, he's the reporter, right? That goes.
Yep. That almost gets.
He gets
killed.
Well, yeah, because he's the one that kind of gives it up that John McClane is related to, or the kids. Yep. I think Alan Rickman is able to put it together with the photo, but he interviews the kids and kind of exposes everything. And so it's the big climax when Mom gets to punch him out in front of live TV.
Right.
Did you get that?
Right.
And it's like classic. So at least he gets his comeuppance in that movie, and he certainly gets his comeuppance in this one too. Right,
yeah. It's just one of those, he just has a face to be that guy. He has an attitude, and you're like, oh, yeah, it fits so well. So that was good. Yeah, I love the, who told you can call me Jerry kind of thing. And just, he did have Deborah, and he was, it's a great line.
He did, I know.
He said, take a taxi home. I guess he'll be hammering later. It's like, oh,
and she just like,
yeah,
because she lost. She had one-upped him with the whole hammer line, and then he turned it on her. Yeah, Chris Knight did. This was not Hathaway.
No.
I mean, Hathaway told her to get a cab, so he was putting her down. But
yeah, it's still one of those like, oof. It's a funny thing, but he's so good in it as the kind of the bad guy. One of my drinks I almost went with, and it's a very small spot in the movie, very early. It's the shuttle pilot, is played by a guy named Stacy Peralta.
The shuttle pilot in the commercial at the beginning.
I think it's the commercial, because it's weird because he's second billed on IMDb.
Well,
it just says shuttle pilot, so I don't know if it's the first one or the second one.
Yeah, it must be the commercial, because I think they did the casting, at least in the movie, they did the casting in order of appearance as opposed to top billing or anything like that.
So I don't know if you know. It just surprised me when I saw the name, and I was like, wait a minute, do you know who Stacy Peralta is?
No, I don't believe I do, but I do.
It makes sense that you wouldn't, because he's not a big actor, right? He's not a big movie guy.
Former professional skateboarder. Is that where you're going? I just clicked it because he actually was one of the cast members that was in Wikipedia that was listed.
Okay.
So
yeah, he was an owner of Pal Peralta, which is one of the biggest skateboard companies in the world. Right, I still buy their boards today. They were one of the ones I bought. Tony Hawk used to ride for Pal Peralta.
Paul Peralta or Peralta? Wait, what is it?
Pal Peralta.
Okay.
Peralta.
Gotcha. Here it just
Stacy
says
Peralta.
Peralta.
Yeah.
Oh,
well,
that's his name. Gotcha. Gotcha.
There's two people. And so
Powell. Okay, gotcha.
Powell and Peralta, but it became the skateboard brand. But Tony
Gleaming
Hawk
the Cube. I remember that movie.
Lords of Dogtown and the Z Boys. He was big into skateboard stuff as a director and film guy and producer and stuff. But it was just one of those, when I saw that, I was just like, what the hell? Like, as an actor, I'm like, what's going on here? And so I just thought it was Bones Brigade videos were big when I was into skateboarding, and it was around this time. It was just one of those. It just surprised me. I was like, what the heck? So I just thought it was funny though. But he is the second build under IMDb,
right?
And it just tried. I'm like, what? That's crazy. Our boy Mitch. This is, in the 80s. They discovered a lot of teen talent, right? The Hughes movies was the 80s Brat Pack, right? We talked about Michael Anthony Hall in the show, from 16 Candles, from Weird Science, and all those, Molly Ringwald and all them. They kind of Gabriel Jarrett was Mitch in this. He's the young kid. He was actually only 14 when they filmed this, playing a 15-year-old. I mean, the guy was stretching his talent.
Oh, damn.
But it's one of those things is like, I'm like, whatever happened to that guy?
Oh, yeah. Oh, did you go there?
I was like, what? Whatever. And I looked at his movies and I'm like, I don't know if I've ever seen him or realized he was in anything else.
Yeah. Oh,
and I was like, he wasn't bad.
But he did make headlines the last couple of years with.
Oh, did he? I didn't go there.
He got caught up in some sort of pornography or like child porn sting.
No.
Yeah, I think it was something that. I should say it was like a solicitation. And he had
that happens to other people too.
He had a defense saying, "Oh no, I was," but I have no idea. I don't.
Everybody has a defense, but it's whether you believe it or not. The biggest thing I could see from him, he was a background guy in Apollo 13. The big part other part was Karate Kid Part 3.
Yeah. Well, gosh,
the worst of the Karate Kids. he gets in a fight with Daniel-san.
He was in The American President too, but
they're all background. Like, there's no big.
I was not that. I mean, he wasn't a character in this movie that, even though he was the kind of the lead protagonist. He wasn't the.
He was supposed to be the lead, but he wasn't really the lead.
Yeah, I wasn't that drawn towards him, so I get why it did.
I just thought it was funny. Like, it was like that was supposed to be his big jumping off point. If you look at all the way the other 80s kids movies, teens and stuff went, something happened and it didn't work for him.
I mean, the formula that Martha Coolidge brought to this movie worked, I think, for the movie, but it's not a formula that's going to elevate people to stardom, because she's leaning into characters that are not.
Val Kilmer kind of came out.
No, I absolutely Val Kilmer, but that was a character that was kind of sculpted. I mean, I don't know what her role was with his character, but the things that elevated his character were the typical kind of Van Wilder elements that you describe with Ryan Reynolds and stuff.
Yeah,
I think I was impressed because it had some dramatic leanings, and maybe that was something that was added that gave some depth to it. But at the heart of it, it was just kind of he was the guy that everyone wanted to be, and that's something that's going to make a star. Whereas the movie felt elevated. Some of these characters, yeah, you're impressed, but it's not going to make you.
Nobody wanted to be Mitch.
Yeah, you're not going to follow them on Instagram necessarily.
No. The only people that wanted to be Mitch were the ones that were just totally smitten with Jordan, and that's all the reason they wanted to be Mitch.
Right.
I'm dead serious. Everybody else would have wanted to be Chris or Laszlo.
And then you say Karate Kid 3, and we did have Karate Kid 2 antagonist in this. He was just kind of in a couple scenes, so I don't quite know if he had much of a role. He wasn't there were two Asians. One of them had yeah. Is that
the fact that you counted them is a little weird, but yeah, Ick was one of them. He was the one that got the lines. He was Chris's buddy. He's the one that created the ice and was kind of with him for some of the other stuff.
I mean, it's not like they played him like stereotypical Asians. They didn't do it. It wasn't this long duck dong. You know, like you got to.
It's done.
And you know that elevated his character, but here at least they don't have. I don't think they had. I think they spoke in a standard American accent, which is something that's unheard of for an Asian actor, probably in the 80s. So,
they didn't play up the Asian.
Kudos to
he played Fenton.
Yeah,
I think that was one of let's see. I want to get his name real quick. Yujimi Akamoto. Yujimi Akamoto. Or you know,
is the actor's name? Yes,
as we know him as Chosen. I think Chosen. I would just go by Chosen.
Yeah, you're right. From Karate Kid 2. Yeah.
He was also Inception apparently,
and Cobra Kai. You know, so
yeah. Well, he's definitely in Cobra Kai. I mean, everybody that was in any of the Karate Kids was in Cobra Kai. For the most part.
He was in Better Off Dead too. Oh, there's a movie that I think hasn't aged necessarily well, but I still say whenever someone mentions $2, I go off on this $2 kick.
Where's my $2?
Or French fries. They talk about French fries, and you kind of go in through all the French ingredients that the mother serves. Okay. Anyway, segue.
Anyways, yeah, I think he was one of the sidekicks to. Oh goddamn! What's his name now? He's the main kind of shit stirrer that everybody loves to hate. Besides our Hathaway character.
You mean Kent? You're talking Kent?
Kent. That's it. That's it.
Okay.
I was like, I think he was the. You know, there was the three guys that hung. I think he hung out with Kent.
Kent was an interesting character because you hate him at the same time. Exactly. Even Hathaway made fun of him incessantly, and people around him made fun of him. What was it there? When he says
I was
it
wrong.
goes,
he wasn't one of Kent's buddies. That was Carter and Bodie, who were played by different guys. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I don't want to put Chosen in that category. So
fair enough.
Just to make sure.
Yeah. But Kent, it was an interesting way they portrayed his character because he was a bully, but he always kind of got made
like
fun
a nerd bully.
Yeah, and even Hathaway, threw him under the bus every chance he got. Go get my laundry and treated him like a douchebag.
Well, I think what it was is he was kind of the top dog when he first came in there, and then probably Chris came in and took a spot. And then Mitch came in and took the spot. And so he's looking at these guys going, fuck, that should be me. He's very jealous. And the other thing that got me is I'm sorry. If you're an adult with braces, I apologize now. Fucking A, sometimes it just looks stupid. Like, braces should be reserved for people under 20. I understand that sometimes you can't afford it until you're an actual adult and being adulting and doing adult stuff and making adult money. But goddamn, some adults with the braces, and he is the poster child for why I hate adults with braces.
I know what you mean. It's a hard decision for an adult to suddenly say, okay, I want to get my teeth straightened, and they have to go through a couple years of braces because you feel like you're a teen, in an adult world. I know someone at work that for a couple years he was wearing braces, and he's probably in his 30s, 40s, and it just like really
I know someone in their 40s that has braces, and it's like, are you fucking kidding? Trust me, I should have had braces a long time ago. I got one of the offset teeth. My cousin has the same one. It's like it's one of our canines. It just decided to stay up in the attic, and You
never had braces?
No, fuck no. My dad could afford braces.
Okay. I had braces, but they don't know. I mean, it depends on how you maintain them because you can have braces and then if you don't wear a retainer or something like that, they all go back the way they started. Which
is funny because I only have it's 1 and 2 right behind it that are fucked up. The rest are pretty decent. So other than that, No, he's just one of those guys. It's like, oh my God, he's such a douche.
It lent itself to the script though, because I mean,
yeah.
They ended up using the braces as an antenna for his whole, his God experience, his when God was speaking to. No, I'm sorry, Jesus was speaking to him.
This is Jesus. Quit touching yourself. It is God. Oh, I mean, yeah, it's great. Apparently, that was also based off of a regular prank that was done.
Nice. That's great. And yeah, reassembling the car in his bedroom too was
right.
Especially when it was like hooked up to whatever that thing
had the hydraulics.
Yeah, it kept inflating it and deflating it. It felt. Yeah. I was like, what the?
Like it was snoring. Yeah, no, it was good.
He was also a character that, even though he was considered probably an antagonist, you didn't really hate him. He was just kind of a douche.
I hated him.
But as a douchebag, it wasn't like he was evil. He was just
No, he was evil.
He was mean-spirited. He was mean-spirited.
No, he was evil.
Okay.
He put grease on the lens.
Yes.
Okay. Now that is pure evil because that destroys months of work.
Yeah.
And that is there's no coming back from that. That's not like, I pranked you. We'll fix it up. Oh, I put confetti in your office. No, you fucked up some major shit.
You're right. I guess I should. When I say he wasn't evil, I meant his motivation wasn't simply he was an evil entity, which a lot of times antagonist characters are just the bad guys for no reason. You kind of got to know who he was.
He was evil because he was jealous.
Exactly. And they used that as a way of kind of following his character and adding depth to it. So I never felt he was like someone you had to really worry about was going to go.
Oh no, I wouldn't trust that dude behind my back
They were
going to
shiv you in prison.
Well, yeah, there's that because he's a coward too. But yeah, I mean, he was definitely someone that you could hate, which leads to we haven't really talked. I mean, you mentioned a little bit, but one of the more memorable scenes in this movie, and probably what most people remember about this movie, it even stemmed a what's the guys that do the
reel where they tried where they try to Mythbusters, right? Sure.
So we got the giant Jiffy Pop ball in the house.
Yeah.
And this was it's never been even done since. This was a realistic stunt that was like phenomenal. For one, it took them 3 months to create that much popcorn.
That's right. They had to actually pop it. They just kind of popped it over and over again, and they
had a crew and machines that were dedicated to do nothing. Imagine going in for a job interview and you're like, okay, have you ever popped popcorn?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. How do you feel about popping popcorn for 12 hours a day for the next 3 months? Like literally there was some intern that thought he was going to be working on a movie and his ass popped popcorn literally for 3 months. Not only that, but they had to buy thousands of pounds of popcorn from another company that popped it, which they popped so much of it that apparently their warehouse burnt down in the process.
Oh, really? I know they had to do something to keep it from.
They had to add a fire retardant spray, which then meant they had to keep birds from eating it because it would kill them instantly.
Exactly. Yeah.
This popcorn, and it was a huge amount of money. It was like a large portion of the budget for this movie. Not only that, but
wait, back up. Look, for what?
For the popcorn. The amount of money they spent on popcorn was a big part of their budget.
That doesn't make sense.
They bought it's in the thousands of pounds of popcorn.
Okay.
I mean, it's a large. Not only that, but they bought the pre-popped popcorn from these other people, and they had to pay. It's a big point. Not only that, but I guess they also spent a large. I mean, it only had a budget of 8,000, or is it 8? What's that? 8 million.
8 million. Yeah.
Is that right?
Yep. That's what my sources tell me.
Okay. They spent like, I think it's a quarter. No, it'd be about an eighth, a little more than an eighth of this on the Depeche Mode song that they played at the end.
Which one was
Depeche Mode? The Rule the World.
Oh no, that's
I knew as soon as I said Depeche Mode it was wrong.
Everybody wants to.
Tears for Fears.
Thank you. I've got one of their
apparently literally they spent like what? It's like 1.5 million to get the rights to that song.
So that was after I heard that, and I don't think it really fit the movie.
It doesn't in a way, but it also was kind of okay, cool. I'm good with it. It makes you kind of want to go listen to some Tears for Fears.
Oh,
it's a good song.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of funny, like some of the stuff they spent the money on. I mean, they didn't spend the money on the actors for sure. There's no big name actors at this point. Val Kilmer is early in his career, so he's not pulling those big digits. So. But for what they did with it, I think it's great.
Go to Mythbusters though, because they did try to figure this out. I know that there was it was two pronged. They wanted to see if a laser could pop popcorn, which that was true. That they were able to pop it, but then there was also the myth of whether or not if by popping enough popcorn would it actually burst the foundation of a house and blow out windows, and they found that it didn't do that. Instead it kind of burned up before something happened to it. Makes sense.
It makes sense. It's very combustible, which
is totally fair. I mean that's there's you take some you have fun with the movies.
It's a movie. You know, if we and matter of fact, I listened to one podcast and I started to get irritated because the whole thing, everything, it was almost like they went into it to be negative. Is like everything they were talking about was like, oh, that's not realistic. And I was like, do you watch movies to be realistic? Because if that's the case, you need to take Top Gun off your fucking top spot, because that shit is not legit. It is a great, entertaining movie, but there is no way 90% of that shit happens the way it went down.
Sure. I'm with you there. I think there is room for entertainment in movies that doesn't quite translate necessarily.
Yeah. Well, and if there wasn't, we wouldn't have movie. If everything had to be so Karate Kid.
Ed
that
Wood.
Shit would be right out the fucking window.
Yeah. What does Ed Wood say? Suspension of disbelief. It's all about you push the boundaries. Ed Wood is kind of ironic because he was ridiculous in how far he pushed.
Well, I mean, even there's a scene which I'm kind of I remember the scene, and I must have seen the trailer multiple times. I think this is one where I saw the trailer, and you probably saw the trailer in Blockbuster.
You're talking about Real Genius?
Yeah, Real Genius, where he is floating on a lawn chair held up with balloons.
Oh.
It's in the trailer, but it's not in the movie.
Oh, you're right. That does ring a bell, but I don't think we had it in Blockbuster. Yeah.
I mean, it just showed up on my screen right now, and I'm like, I know that fucking scene. I know that scene. But it's only in the trailer, and it's very interesting. Another one that just came up real quick.
I remember getting so frustrated with the Star Wars. What's the movie about the Death Star plans? Rogue One. The trailer for Rogue One, and it shows this TIE fighter showing up at the very end when she's on top of this tower, and it looks like epic. Oh my God, she's battling a TIE fighter that's just floating in front of her. And they completely cut that scene. I remember watching the movie, just waiting for that, because it was such an epic moment in that trailer that was lost to the reshoots. You know?
So here's another, this is a scientific side of this movie too that's very interesting, is the lasers that they were using in doing all this are not visible to the naked eye.
Fair enough.
They had to have smoke and fog, but they had to have it in a way that it doesn't show up in the movie. And so I was like, you want to talk about practical special effects kind of coming together?
Well, it's cinematography. I got to shout out my pal Vilmos Zsigmond, who's done some. He was the DP on this movie, and he's done some amazing work. He's worked with Steven Spielberg. He did Close Encounters of the Third Kind, which is probably some of the most epic cinematography from the 70s that you'll see. So that's probably one of the reasons why they brought, and I say epic because of some of the photography of the spacecrafts and how they're zooming around, and so he probably had a lot to do with how those lasers were photographed in the movie. So,
and it's just one of those interesting thing. The other part is this is another one where anybody who's ever wore a safety hat at work or was on any kind of safety team, and when they fire that laser off and it goes through the wall, you're like, oh shit, lawsuits are happening. Because I mean, you got people looking through statues where the head's kind of got a hole through it. And so like, how does that not kill somebody?
Keep in mind, this is at a college, and lawsuits at a college are a little different beast. And I know that from experience because I could tell you about some lawsuits that should have happened at where I work, and they not necessarily. Instead, you get kind of crazy people going off the rails and screaming about things that should have been, prosecuted, but they didn't. So maybe it's just due to the environment, the, educational freedom and stuff like that. But you're right. I mean,
I was thinking more that a laser through someone's head or chest is probably going to be bad.
And it does go through someone's head. It just happens to be a statue,
Yeah, exactly. But just, I was like, oh shit, okay. And he just turns it into a treasure map to the next party, which is kind of funny.
Right.
Here's another one, and I don't know if you noticed this or even pulled this up and read it. The initials DEI show up throughout this in multiple iterations. And so apparently this is a tradition, timestamp, joke thing from Caltech, the actual Caltech, where they find ways to put DEI as an acronym or in all the names of stuff like.
But we're not talking diversity, equity, inclusion, right?
Nope. Yep, which is kind of funny because I was like, oh shit, that's got a whole new meaning right now.
Yeah.
But no, so Caltech apparently, like, they've put DEI on the moon, like it's spelled out somewhere on the moon. Mount Rushmore, like there's Caltech graduates that are dropping, but in the movie it is in no less than like 7-8 spots.
Okay, what does it mean?
I don't know. That's what I couldn't
you
find.
Don't know. Okay.
But it's a Caltech thing, something about DEI as the initial. So there's like there's the van that shows up and it's got the Caltech, the DEI.
It's Dabney Eats. Wait, hang on.
Exactly.
Where was it? Dabney Eats It. This is an instance of the initials DEI, which interpreted as Dabney Eats It, have a long history at Caltech and are said to have been inscribed by Caltech alumni. The summit of ever. Yeah, but what is Dabney Eats It? Dabney House at Caltech.
It's something in the college.
Oh, wait. The student resident has wall covered with graffiti, which were walls in Dabney House at Caltech. At least one piece of graffiti is a copy of a similar item from Dabney, which disappeared. No, now I have no clue.
But that's what I mean. I just thought it was kind of funny because, we talked about earlier the Caltech people that worked with the director, and they got all this stuff. So like anytime there's like a kind of a name brand, like there's the van that has a name on it, the beginning of the TV show that the teacher is announcing, or he's the host, has DEI as the initials. So there's all these different things in there. There's some graffiti in the background. Just one of those like there's Easter eggs.
Okay, here we go. It's commonly reported that Caltech Food Service once had a dish which was eaten only by residents of Dabney House, and the phrase "Dabney eats it" was coined by food server workers. So that's where DEI comes from. I mean, that's the origin.
Dabney eats it.
Yeah, we're talking about in the 50s. So interesting.
So that I want that to become the new anti-DEI, if that's what you're into, is now whenever you have a DEI hire that you want to insult.
You could have made a DEI cocktail. Come on. Done some Drambuie and some E for I don't know. You come up with something for each letter.
I know I could have, but I just thought it was kind of funny. I was like, I just thought it was really cool that there's a lot of little Easter eggs that if you don't know, you wouldn't know. Like that was one of them.
Right.
There's pictures in the room that Chris and Mitch share that are on the wall that are actual Val Kilmer's brothers' drawings.
Oh, really? Okay.
And I just I think he I don't know the whole story. I don't want to fuck it up, but something about, I think he had a special needs brother who might have died or committed suicide, and he put the drawings up in the room, kind of thing. Is something I read, something like that. I could be completely off, so don't take it as gospel, but that's one of the things I read about and heard about. I was that's kind of cool. They brought in Caltech students to do graffiti on the walls in the what considered their dorm areas, like where the ice skating and the ice event, smart people on ice.
Smart people on ice. That sounds like that sounds like an event at a ski rink. Smart people on ice.
But they brought in people to the Caltech students to like put stuff on the walls and write stuff and do things like that. It was just like they really involved people that would know stuff about this.
Yeah.
I was like, that's super cool.
Yeah, that is.
So yeah, this is fun. It's a fun 80s movie. It's got the feel of the 80s, where it kind of dips its toe into the kind of absurd, nerds are cool, but it doesn't go too far over. It's fun, and like I said, it has some iconic stuff. Everybody knows the Jiffy Pop. Everybody knows the Jiffy Pop.
I thought it was in the 80s. It felt like a very refreshing movie. I mean, I was 15, so I was a teenager. It didn't. So how does refreshing resonate with a teenager? It doesn't, but it just did not feel like your typical rom-com or raunchy-com, I think is what typically was the case. This is something that
Raunch-Com. I like that.
Well, it was something that just kind of felt a little different, and it made you feel, I wasn't a big fan of the Mitch character, but I identified with him. I was awkward, and I wasn't as smart as he was, but I was I was in advanced classes, so I felt kind of like I was a little bit of a nerd myself, so
No, I get it.
So it kind of gives you a place in that, and you feel like you are worth being heard.
No, and I get it. This was me going into high school, and I was a skater at the time, so I was a little bit on the outside of my school. I then turned into a jock, which, who knows how that turned out. But I had a crush on the nerd girl.
Yeah.
But it was also one of those things is like, I wish I would have taken more from this show and said, you know what? No, she can be cool. And I kept it hidden, and I regret that sometimes.
See, I have to admit, I always had a crush on the cool girls. Which was completely out of my league because I did not associate with.
So you were more 16 Candles than Weird Science.
Yes. That was a different world to me, genius. And all I could do was kind of look through the window, on the outside looking in. That sort of thing. But I did have a lot of girls that liked me that were nerds, and I was not interested.
The nerd girls.
No, I wasn't. So, because I was kind of fixated on certain things that were.
See, and I was on the opposite end. I was the jock that was interested in the nerd girl, but I'm like, I can't go with her. She's not a cool girl.
True.
And so I regret that a little bit.
Yeah.
The amount of stuff we regret from high school is so much.
It's funny. I remember dating someone in, I think it was junior high, and she asked me to the Sadie Hawkins dance. No, it was high school. It was just early. I think I was a freshman or in high school. But she asked me to the Sadie Hawkins dance, and she was kind of a nerd, but she was a Jordan nerd. And I think we went, and I had a good time, but I think I pushed back on anything just because I didn't feel very. I don't know. I was a nervous freshman. I didn't want to get serious about anything because I was. But looking back on it, man, I kind of wonder, if I was I felt more comfortable in my shoes, a little bit more confident. Like, this is. I don't need to worry about what other people think. Because that's what I was affected by. Is you have these.
We all were.
You have these people that the bullies are going to tease the nerds, and so if you're dating a nerd, you're kind of caught up in that.
You got a brace-faced Kent giving you shit.
Yeah.
And you're like, look, dude, you can't even get anybody, and wishing you could be a Chris Knight and be like, nope, I got this.
And maybe this sort of a movie kind of gave me a little bit more freedom to kind of lean into what I wanted, not what I was worried about. So
I did like that fact that it was more attainable. Like, you know, you look at some of the John Hughes movies and like, oh, I can't be one of the cool kids. I can't be this and that. Where this kind of is more attainable in a way. Like, yes, I mean, you got to be smart. You got to be the child prodigy.
Well, even Breakfast Club, Anthony Michael Hall's character, he was the only one that didn't end up with a date at the end of that. You know, so he's the nerd of the group.
Yeah, but he wrote a hell of a fucking paragraph.
Yeah, I know. It's just my point is, you get it. You know?
Wrote a hell of an essay.
Pat on the back for you. And what does he do? Give himself a little.
Oh, he does. He does the little shoulder bump.
Shoulder bump. You know, good job.
So
good job, self. Yeah, you get to go pal around with yourself as for your relationship because that's kind of how I felt.
I get it. I was definitely the jock in that. I think
you were the what?
Yeah. I was the jock.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I would have shown up with a big bag of food and been more worried about wrestling and making fun of people.
Nice.
So yeah, no, we all fit our roles. Hopefully, people start to find a way out of them. But no, this was fun. I remember this so. Like I said, the popcorn scene stands out. Laszlo stands out. You know, the winning the stuff. The other stuff, it didn't stand out. It didn't jog my memory as much as like, oh God, I remember that scene. But I enjoyed all of it. Like I really enjoyed the beginning with the ice, and her sledding down the stairs and all that. And I really enjoyed this movie. This was fun.
There's a joke in this movie that I remember from when I was a kid that I felt went completely over my head, but I remember my brother and my dad finding it hilarious, and I felt completely
left out.
Yes, it was when Chris Knight is sitting there after he's been after Hathaway has basically said he's not passing his class, and he's sitting there, and Mitch comes up and says, "How you doing?" And he says, "What are you thinking about?" He's like, "I'm thinking of the immortal words of Socrates, who said, I drank what?" And that never meant a thing to me at the time, and I remember struggling to try to like, what does that mean? And my dad or my brother would explain it to me, and it. I still, even though now I understand it, I'm so kind of caught up in that moment when I was 15 and had no clue what it meant that I can't find it funny. And so
I'm right there with you.
It just feels kind of an interesting moment for me that
I'm so right there with you. I'm like, what?
Yeah,
what?
I know. I understand how it's supposed to be funny, but I'm just caught up in my previous self. I can't find the humor in it.
I get it. I was the same way. I was like, what? What? Because I was like, oh, I'm going to make a drink out of that. And I'm like, oh, that it's not as funny as I don't get it. So, yeah, I understand.
Apparently for intellectuals, it's very funny. So
I read what it meant, and I still didn't find it that funny. So I get it. I don't know. He drank some poison hemlock. I'm like, okay, what's that fucking mean? That does, no, there's still a lot of little things. He's got a lot of liners that are great. Stupid throwaway fucking line. Very first introduction of him, he's got the little antennas on his head. Like, why do you wear those on your head? Well, if it were anywhere else, they'd chafe. Shit like that to me is hilarious.
Especially the way he delivers it. You got to give Val Kilmer credit. He just delivers it straight-faced and yeah.
That's the kind of shit I would say. Like, totally like, oh, well, if I wore it anywhere else, it would chafe. And I was like, oh, that's so funny. That's the kind of stuff that resonates with me out of this. I know there's a lot of people, and I talk to a lot of people, and I know you're one of them that got to go to college and experience college. And I always hope that this is that college experience and some of these other movies. I didn't experience college because I went to a JC for a year and said, this isn't for me, and then joined the military. Whole different experience. Whole different experience. Granted, still a lot of cool shit, a lot of fun. I wouldn't change it for the world.
Sure.
But it's one of those, I watch these sometimes and I'm like, oh my God. Like, It's like watching the high school movies, and you're like, my high school wasn't like that. Why the fuck? I want that.
No, I'm with you. I didn't go to boot camp or military, so I don't have that experience. And you see that in the movies. And I will say, yes, there is a lot of legitimacy to some of this stuff you see in Real Genius, and I'm sure there's a lot of legitimacy in boot camp. So we have different experiences, but I think you find movies that capture it in a way like this movie does. I don't think I wasn't surrounded by a bunch of intellects. I mean, I went to San Diego State. It was
whoa, that's throwing some shade.
Well, no, but San Diego State was the party school of the 80s.
No,
that was I think Chico was the only one that maybe might have been above it.
Shit.
So
I've been to Chico.
Yeah. I mean, there was all sorts of the whole Revenge of the Nerds, where you've got all the different places, sororities and fraternities. But I was in the dorms my first year, and there was a lot of chaos, kind of this crazy stuff that went on. But then after the first year, I moved in with one of the guys I met there, and we created our own stuff. And then I moved into a house with 3 or 4 other guys, and four other guys, and we had our own kind of antics for 2 years, which was one guy was growing weed in the back, and another guy was a heavy metal guitarist. Another guy did film school with, but he was kind of in a different, he was doing a whole producing stuff, and another guy was a little bit crazy, and you have those experiences.
Yeah.
So yes, I do recommend it for people to experience the joys of moving away from your parents' house and kind of having a life that is catered through some sort of other mechanism, whether it be school or military or something that kind of hands you this crazy life to live for a little while, so you kind of have this way of discovering some things about yourself.
It's funny you said that. So when I think back to my military service, and one of the things is, not only was I in boot camp, and I became really close with some people, and also hated some of the people I was stationed with there. It was one of those. It's 53 men in a birthing area, right? And we're all just trying to get through there without fucking killing each other. And so you make some close ties with the people that you can get along with and enjoy, and then you also I hate that motherfucker over there. Now, take that to my next duty station, where I was stationed on a small boat. And it was one of those. Being on a football team too. It's you get close with your guys, and it's it's us against the world, and that's how it was on my boat. And it was one of those things. It's kind of I would similar to a college experience, where it's you're thrown into these situations where you have to do all of this crazy shit with these people, right?
It becomes your life experience. It's like you don't have a home to fall back on. You have to create your home with whatever you got, and
you don't have a choice of you're stuck in it. It's just like your home. You can't just walk away and go, I'm going to go live somewhere else. Doesn't work. But yeah, that's so when I watch these movies, I'm like, oh man, I kind of wish I would have gone through that. Kind of, it's similar things, but it was under a different situation, military barracks and boat and stuff like that. But yeah, it's just. This was fun. This was one of those ones that makes you go, oh shit, I want to be smart and go to college and fucking ice skate, one morning in my dorm room, or have a pool party. So cool thing about that, they were looking for a place to do that. The Tanning International, I think is what they called the party. Invitational. That's what Tanning Invitational. They found a VA, I think it was a VA hospital or a VA area that had an auditorium, and so where the pool is actually an orchestra pit.
VA Veterans Affairs, right? Is that where?
They're Veteran Affairs.
Okay.
And so I was like, man, that looks so fun.
So they put the pool in the orchestra pit. Is that what that?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
They basically lined it with a big plastic thing, and I was like, oh my God, that is so fun. I'd have been there in a second, all over that. I'm like, hell yeah. So yeah, just shit like that. It's just kind of fun. This is. I would put this in a high top 20 of movies coming out of 85 that I find highly rewatchable.
Yeah,
highly enjoyable.
I would stretch that to the 80s. 85.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, there's so many good movies that came out of the 80s.
Yeah, well, this is one that resonated for me. I'm glad we covered this. I'm looking forward to more Val Kilmer, because this I don't think this movie this was a great Val Kilmer introduction for people who hadn't seen Top Secret, or at least I think
movie.
I think this is a better reflection of Val Kilmer and his potential, because Top Secret, it was funny, but it wasn't. He was just kind of playing the slapstick stuff. It wasn't part of, there wasn't much beyond that. Whereas this gave a little bit more dramatic flexibility to his performance, along with his delivery, his comic timing, which was great. But next week we're gonna delve into something completely different.
We're gonna hit probably what most people know Val Kilmer from, other than Top Gun. Right. I think if you tell someone, hey, Val Kilmer, what do you know him from? There's two, maybe three potentials that are going to come out. Top Gun is one or two most of the time. Then we've got Tombstone as Doc Holliday. The other would be Batman Forever from '95.
Oh God.
And I think to me, Doc Holliday is even more so than Iceman. Iceman in Top Gun was great.
But that wasn't a Val Kilmer vehicle. This is something that elevates his. This was more performance. This was something that he.
Well, he's a supporting character in this.
Yeah, but he drove the success of that movie. That movie had legs. It did not have a very big opening. We'll talk more about it, but I think it was his performance that brought people to the theater week after week and gave it. I think he is the reason why that movie was a success. You don't put Val Kilmer in that movie, and well, okay.
I literally, not even planning for the podcast. I was in Vegas. I would turn the TV on when I was in the room just to kind of have something going on. I got really lucky, and I got a lot of MCU, so I got to watch a couple of Avenger movies. And then I turned it on one night, and Tombstone was on. And I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" And so I watched Tombstone when I was in Vegas for martial arts. One of the reasons I only got about 3 hours sleep most nights, I was like, holy crap. And this is a movie that,
this is a movie that I'm not a big fan of the movie as a whole, but the scenes that we're going to talk about with Val Kilmer, a couple with Kirk Douglas, are just like, you could watch those forever and ever and just get off on them.
Kurt Russell, Val Kilmer, Sam Elliott, Bill Paxton.
Bill Paxton, right? I know.
Fucking, oh my God. Like, Jesus. The star power of this movie alone, when I'm looking at the names.
I'll make some sort of drool cocktail next week, to capitalize on it. What?
Huckleberry. It's going to be a Huckleberry.
Okay. I'll leave you Huckleberry. I'll try to avoid that so that I don't intercept.
Well, I already know there's a Huckleberry vodka that I found one time and I really, really liked. And so I already plan on using that.
Okay. Good. I'll see if I can find a different angle, and maybe I won't even go for Val Kilmer. I'll try some other angle, the Billy Bob Thornton. Maybe I'll lean into that.
They're just, oh my God.
That was one of his early performances, which is interesting.
I'm seriously looking at some of these names and like, holy crap. Like, there's just so many.
But that's next week.
Yes.
Okay.
Join us next week, because it's going to be one of our most epic. 294 is going to go down as like the how we sees it of how we sees it.
You never know. Sometimes those conversations are boring because we just like,
and we're just like, oh my God, it's so cool.
Exactly.
I love these guys.
What insight are we going to bring? Nothing. So
no. Well, we're not going to say anything that we won't.
I don't know. We might. We'll dig deep. We'll see what we got.
Yeah, we will. So join us next week for Tombstone.
What's your quote?
Thank you for joining. Oh, my quote?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. I had it. Hold on. I got my old glasses on, so let me see. Here we go. I think the young people enjoy it when I get down verbally.
Oh, that's the other the professor.
The
that's
professor,
hilarious. I love it. I love you for that. Nice quote. Nice quote. Hail Caesars.
Hail Caesars.
What does that mean?